What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Scalp Solutions podcast. I am your host, David Santiago, and today I got with me my guy, Billy DeCola. What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? How you doing? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for taking out some time to come on the podcast and chop it up with us, brother.
For sure.
So check this out, Billy. Let the people know, our listeners, our viewers, because we are on every single major podcast platform that exists. I made sure that.
You're really getting out there now. That's
awesome. And on YouTube. So you guys can hear us on iTunes, or if you want to go on YouTube and get the actual video footage of these two handsome men that are talking right now.
I know, man. I'm getting a little gray in there. I don't know.
Hey, man, listen, Silver Fox, you guys.
Oh, it's like that?
I get a lot of attention. So check this out, Billy. Let everyone know where you're from and the clinic that you represent, or the studio that you represent.
Okay, so I was born in Florida. I didn't know if you even knew that. I was born in St. Pete, Florida, right next to Tampa. I grew up there, moved to Miami for a while, lived down there. That's where I learned how to tattoo at the Miami Ink studio. I lived in Japan for a while, but now I'm living in Vancouver. So I have a studio in Vancouver. I kind of have like a little hybrid thing going on where I have like a laser clinic and I have the SMP, and I also tattoo and I do some training. Like I do a lot of different things, but it's all out of the same studio. So it's called Studio Kiku. And Kiku is I don't know if you know, you lived in Japan for a while.
Japanese, right?
Yeah, man. So Kiku is a chrysanthemum. So it's a Japanese flower. And people ask me, oh, why'd you pick that? And to be honest with you, like trying to figure out a name, like if you ever had kids and you're trying to figure out a name for your kid, you're like, damn, I don't know what to call my kid.
You want something unique.
Yeah, but it's like really hard to decide. So I just picked it. I was just like, all right, Kiku, I like that. So I went with it. And yeah, so that's what's going on right now.
So we talk behind the scenes about us and our experience in Japan, because we lived there at some point, but clearly it influenced you so much that you brought it over to business. Yeah,
so I really learned about Japanese tattooing when I was living in Japan. So I had some mutual friends, like the guys who taught me how to tattoo in the Miami Ink studio. They have lots of connections over in Japan. So when I was living over there, I lived there for like 8 years. I came back and forth a couple times, but for the most part, like 8 years. And I hooked up with this family over there called the Horitoshi family. And if you know Japanese tattoo, and this guy's like OG, like he's
the boss of all bosses.
He's the man. So there's like Horiyoshi, and then there's Horitoshi. Horitoshi is more kind of underground. Horiyoshi is kind of out there, like everybody knows who he is. But Horitoshi is like the OG, in my opinion.
Got you.
So I got tattooed this sleeve here. It's all hand poked. I have some videos somewhere online, but all this was hand poked. And I had to spend a lot of time in the tattoo studio over there, because you do like a little section like this. It's like 3 hours again. Hand poked.
Time. And this is when you say hand poke, that's the one with the rod, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like he does it like a cue. It's like a cue, like when you're shooting pool, kind of like you put the thing up here and you're going like this. It's like that type of thing. Some people think it's like tapping. It's not tapping. That's, I think, Hawaiian and Polynesian style. But this one's more like a shooting pool type of thing.
Got you. And now, so obviously you were tattooing traditional tattoos before you got into SMP. How many years were you doing traditional tattoos, or do you still do both? Are you doing SMP and traditional?
I'm trying to get a lot back into doing traditional tattooing because I miss it. I just miss the vibe. It's a different vibe. But I've been tattooing altogether, I think 13 years now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing SMP?
Maybe 6, I would say, somewhere around there. 6
years.
Maybe 7. I don't know.
What was your introduction to SMP? Was it just like you saw a video one day, or were you at a convention doing tattoo and you like, the hell
this is funny. So I had a tattoo studio here, and I started seeing all this microblading just blowing up. I'm like, man, I need to hire a girl to do some microblading here. I need to make some money. So I had an interview with this girl, and she came in and we talked about it, whatever. She ended up not working for the studio, but she's like, you should do scalp micropigmentation. And I'm like, what the hell is that? So I go online and I find I don't know if I can say the name of the
Yeah,
company.
yeah, of course, whatever. It doesn't matter.
What was the name? Scalpa, Scalpa, Bryce,
Okay, Bryce Cleveland.
Bryce, Bryce Cleveland. So I see this dude tattooing, and I'm like, just, I mean, we talked about this briefly too. Like looking at somebody's mechanics when I learned how to tattoo. I believe I have the proper mechanics tattooing, and when I see somebody tattooing, and you just kind of, you know, I can figure out within 2 seconds whether they know what they're doing or not, just by how they're holding it or like little mechanics, stuff like that. And I saw this dude like working on this guy's head, and I was like, oh my God, man, like, is this for real? Like, I was like, that dude should not be tattooing people's heads. I'm sorry, Bryce, if you're watching this, but I gotta say it, man. So, anyways, I was like, it's weird. I actually did that exact same thing on my brother. He had a scar on the back of his head, and I did that to cover up the scar. And I didn't even know that I was doing it, but I did it years before I even saw that video. So I'm like, I could do that for sure. So I just started doing it, man. Like I didn't train or nobody taught me how. And I did learn kind of the hard way, I guess. Like I made some mistakes for sure.
Got you. So do you feel that I mean, it's obvious that it's been beneficial to you, but do you feel having that tattooer's background helped you make that transition to
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So there are things that you learn when you're tattooing that you're not going to learn in a 3-day class or a 20-day class or whatever you're doing. Like,
list some of those if you don't mind? Like, what are some of the things that you're not gonna get at a traditional fundamentals SMP class?
well, mechanics, like simple things like posture, stretching the skin, using, I see a lot of people kind of like floating their hand where they're not having like a stable,
Pivot.
yeah, you're not having like a contact point here, and you're just kind of like floating it, like little things like that. Learning about depth, like it takes you, I'm sorry, but it takes you years to learn how to do the proper depth. You don't know until you see it come back if you fucked it up or not. Like you could take a nice picture for Instagram, it's going to look awesome. When that comes back, that's when you know. And when you see it like a year later, that's when you know if you did a good job or not. It's not, oh, that looks awesome for Instagram. Anybody can make it look awesome for Instagram. You hit a couple filters. There's lots of dudes doing that too. But you know, mechanics, that's let's go back to like what helps me out in SMP that I learned from tattooing. So like basic mechanics, definitely like cleanliness and sanitation and all that stuff. Like I feel like that's kind of overlooked a little bit in this industry. um Client relations, like how to deal with people, there's lots of things. Like I think everything that I learned in tattooing translates over to SMP. There's not a single thing that doesn't. So I feel like a lot of SMP people, they talk about oh, he's a tattooer, oh, he don't, it's like what?
Yeah,
Like,
so it's kind of there is a misconception where it's like, all right, you come
yeah,
from a tattoo background, so it's almost like he's gonna bring with him the bad how can I say, the habits that he has as a tattooer, but essentially like those habits that you've already established as a tattoo artist are kind of like these are beneficial habits that you want to bring over. No, correct me if
it's a
I'm wrong.
foundation. I believe it's a strong foundation. How can you think that knowing, like having experience working with skin, working with needles, working with pigment, working with clients, how do you think, I just don't get how people think that that's not going to translate over into SMP and help you. I know that there are good and bad tattooers. That's, just because you're a tattooer, that doesn't mean you're good. And
Yeah,
that doesn't mean you're going to be good at SMP. But if you have that foundation, I think you have an advantage over somebody who was doing tile last week and decided to go and do SMP this week. Like
right.
how does it? The only thing that I could think of is like maybe you develop some bad habits over the year that you're not going to forget when you're learning how to be, delicate, or maybe not go as deep or whatever. But I mean, if you have a brain, you can easily adapt to a different piece of skin on the body.
Got you. And you know, I
Yeah.
have a question. Not only like I legit, this is not just I put this question here just because you have a like I genuinely want to know, is there in fact a difference in depth that you reach in scalp micropigmentation and traditional tattooing? And I ask that because even me to this day, when they ask,
Yeah.
what's the difference between what you're doing and a traditional tattoo? Aside from the obvious, what I like to say, because this is
Hmm.
something that I have been told by several artists,
Yeah.
is that as a SMP artist, we stick to hitting that second layer, right?
Yeah.
Dermal layer or the sweet spot, right? In between
Yeah. Yeah.
epidermis and the dermal layer, but
Yeah.
and which is considered the second layer of the skin.
Hmm.
Then we say a traditional tattoo goes into
Yeah.
the seventh layer of the skin, but it confuses me because there's the epidermal, the dermal, and the what is it, the subcutaneous?
Something that you don't want to be in.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't want it, right? You don't.
I don't go there, so I don't know.
You're hitting the. I think you're hitting the. I think you're hitting the skull at that point.
That's a
So
blowout time. Yeah.
yeah. So is that true that we work in different depths of the skin as SMP artists and traditional tattoo artists?
That's a very good question. And I don't think there's a definite answer for it, because when you say traditional tattoo, what do you mean? Do you mean some very delicate script? Do you mean some Sailor Jerry anchor on somebody's calf? Or are you talking about like Japanese tattoo like this? Like within tattooing, there are different, there's different outcomes you want to get when you're putting the needle in the skin.
Got it.
So somebody taught me, Tim Hendricks taught me way back in the day, like when you're doing a line and you're going through somebody's skin, you're putting it to the point where it's like kind of like a controlled blowout. You know, you're putting it in deep enough where it's going to stay. And you want it to kind of get in there a little bit and spread, but you're not trying to jam it too deep. And you're definitely not trying to go too shallow either, because that's why they call people scratchers, because they're scratching the surface of the skin. So within tattooing, depending on the image you're trying to create, there are different depths that you're trying to go to.
Got you. Got you.
Even in one design, like if I'm on a rose, if I'm doing a rose and I'm trying to go black in one spot and I'm trying to, like, they call whip shading, where it's like whipping it like that. Like as you whip it, you're going from one depth to a lighter depth, like more shallow. That's what a whip is.
And that's
So,
what's essentially creating that fading
but
effect.
you're changing the depth. So if this is the skin and you're coming like this, the depth is changing as you're flicking it up. So you are starting deep, but you're coming shallow. So you have to be able to gauge the depth in tattooing. And you know, the starting point and the ending point. Even in that little design, there are different depths. Like I could take black pigment and I can make it look black, or I can make it look lighter or lighter or lighter by just changing the depth.
Correct. Got you. All right. I
So I don't know if that answered the question,
no,
or if
no,
that
it
made it
did.
more
In
confusing.
theory, it makes perfect sense because you can't necessarily say, I guess in our industry, when we say a traditional tattoo, just means like a design, but
Very
within the
vague.
actual, yes. So, but within the actual tattoo industry, you can't
Mhm.
necessarily just because it's too broad, because there's two different, depending on the tattoo, depends on the layer you want to work. I got it. So
Well,
that's just what I meant.
look at somebody who's doing stippling, you know, like those stippled mandalas or whatever, you know, like they're not trying to blow it out. They're trying to just touch it so that the dot holds its shape. They don't want it to blow out. You're looking for that special depth. So like you compare that guy to somebody who's doing, like, you know, using a 14 round Sailor Jerry, big, you
Hey,
know,
thick.
something like, you know, a skull, you know, like you're jamming it in there. They're like, they look like, you know, they're gonna widen to a shoelace within like 3 years, you know. So obviously that's the wrong depth for scalp, but you
Yeah.
know, to each his own.
Even though some people accomplish it, we do. Google has been coming up with some pretty unique shit lately.
Yeah, man. And you know what? It's art. To be honest, like, you know, everybody I think knows now that this is not a medical procedure. This is art. I could say, you know, that work sucks and this work is awesome, but that's my opinion because this is art. Somebody else might think that that work is great and this one isn't. So, you know, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to um, do things. I think it's a matter of taste. You know, well, I can take that back. Maybe there's a right or wrong way, but
I'm saying I'm super like wow at your answer to that because I for some reason
yeah,
the Billy DeCola that I know would have went about that not as politically correct.
I'm not trying to be super nice, but like, let me give you an example. Like, you know, Taylor Perry. A
Yes.
lot of people like that dude's awesome. In my opinion, I love that guy because you know what? He does what he does. He's confident with what he does, and
Yeah.
that's the style that he's doing.
Super nice guy too.
Yeah, he's super cool. And you find like some people be like, that guy's doing it shitty. He's you know he fucked that up. It's like, no, man, he did what that person wanted and he did it well. You know, so like there's no
You know,
no right or wrong.
I
It's
found myself I found myself in a conversation like that too with someone who was like, hey man, you should talk to your boy. And I was like, what are you talking? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean talk to my boy? And they brought him up, right? And then the way I looked at it, I was like, brother, at the end of the day, this is art.
yeah,
These guys are going to him because they like his style.
yes.
They're not going to him and saying, hey man, I heard about this. How is it that like he's at a point, and I'm not fucking here blowing, you know, because this is, you know, he's a friend of mine, but
Yeah.
we're also barbers, so we understand that there's 10 different ways you could go about doing a fade.
Yep.
Somebody's gonna come to you because they go, no, I like how you do that fade. And that other barber could be like, yo, but he didn't even blend that shit in right.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
so, and I look at that like with SMP when I get some people that like, oh, you know, he was like, oh, your boy, you know, look at this, and this looks too dark. And I'm like, but that's all his work. These guys are coming
Yeah.
because that's what they see, like that's what they want. I understand where people can come and just be like, oh, I don't think, you know, because we have these like cookie cutter, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's art, it's subjective, and you
Exactly.
can do whatever the hell you know you want. If the client, if that's what they want, there's guys that come to me sometimes and they'll show me a picture of this botched ass work that we would be like, hell no, don't do it. And they're like,
Yeah.
this is what I want. And I'm like, sir, you don't understand. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is not what you want. Like this is not how it's done. But then again, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, who knows best? Who's got
You know
the
what I tell people when they come in? I tell them, you know what I could do? I could just bust out the shader and I'll black your fucking head out. Like, I don't care. If that's what you want. You want a big dragon on your head? I'll do that too. Like, whatever you want, sir. You're the boss, you
you
know?
know, I didn't have this mindset. I didn't have this mentality. I'm gonna say it's maybe been about 8 months. So here's what I did, right? And I'm gonna be 100% transparent. So, you know, I like taking pictures sometimes, and I do my little memes and shit like that,
Mhm.
right? I did one. The dude, he recognized the client. He knew it was his. Uh, he didn't call me. He had his wife call me. Well, we got there. Oh, CBD gummy.
Sorry, man.
That's CBD juice.
There might be some THC in there too.
You,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Ooh,
no, are you gonna go off onto another stratosphere on me? And
I'm there all the time, so
all right.
I'm off one now because I ain't on one.
So the wife called me and she was really upset. Like, oh, why would you use this picture? Who are you? You know, you do good work, but nobody's telling you how to do your business, et cetera, et cetera. So then I was like, you know what? Let me talk to your husband. You know, I'll apologize to him. I'll take it down. And he told me, like, yo, bro, I wasn't taught to do this, but guess what? My clients are coming here and this is what they're asking me for. So what am I going to do? Am I going to lose out on that money and tell him no, let somebody else do it? Because at the end of the day, we are a business. And even though we want to help people, but you know, we want to make money. And I was kind of like, holy shit, you know what? He's right.
Well, back to I did learn this in tattooing though. There's sometimes when you do have to say no.
Oh yeah.
If you
Okay.
think, and this is my rule of thumb, if I think it's gonna look good, I'll do it. If I think personally that it's gonna look like shit, I ain't doing it. And that goes for tattooing, that goes for SMP too. Like I was exaggerating a little bit when I said I'd black somebody's head. I
All right,
probably would. Like if you came to me, I'd probably do it just for
right,
fun.
right, for the right.
But I always want to get like a 17 mag and just like shade some, like whip shade it out to the front.
Do a,
Be awesome.
do a mohawk.
Yeah,
Solid
a high
mohawk.
top fade. Can you do a high top fade? Yeah, man.
Yeah, of course.
But sometimes like when people come in and they're like, oh, I want this design and you know, I want to put it on my neck, and I'm just like, that ain't gonna look good. And that's gonna make me look bad by putting that kind of work out there. So you have to, I think first what you have to do is set your parameters. Like this is what I'm willing to do to you know, this is the kind of work that I want out there. And you have to stick to your guns kind of like, you can't let somebody come in and tell you like, oh, I want this, and you know it's not going to look good. Don't do it, you know.
Yeah, and you know what, let me go, let me say this now before, because it's gonna get taken out of context. I am not advocating for someone just botch someone's head. All right, I'm just saying that to a certain perspective, to a certain level, I can understand if the client is very adamant about, no, this is what I want. Whether you give it to me, I'm gonna give the $3,500 to someone else.
Yeah,
I want my shit. I want to look like the Avatar Airbender. Like put something like that on my head. I'm not saying for industry purposes that we should, you know, we should do that, because, you know, at the end of the day, we are trying to accomplish the most natural, you know, results to, you know, a buzz cut.
is it? I mean, when I see like this, like to me, that looks far from natural. It's almost like a fashion statement now. Like that.
Well,
You,
that,
I
yeah,
know
especially here in New York, especially, but here, that's what they want.
Yeah.
But even if you look, when you go to a barbershop, these
Yeah.
guys, you know, a lot of these guys, when they just getting regular haircuts, and some of them, they still do an enhancement, and they'll
Yeah.
spray, you know what, spray down the front, because they want that hair to stick thick, so that when you put the edges on them, they want that thing clean and crisp.
Yeah.
So the SMP here,
Yeah.
well, these guys,
It's different. It's different.
yeah, it's different everywhere. But the UK's got like the dusty, you know, dusty hairlines. You know, out in Cali's got like a mix of like the sharp hairlines and them dusty hairlines. I think it just depends on.
Yeah, I got a style I like to do. I like to try to make it look nice and natural, but you know, I don't think I ever. Oh, I've done a couple edge ups, but I didn't really like. I look at
That's your
them.
thing.
I don't really like that, man. That looks like shit, but whatever, you know.
To each their own, right? It's a, you pay for it, you got it. Congratulations.
Yeah, you know, I don't like to look at the pic. Like I won't sit there and look. I do tattoos sometimes too, where I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, like that wasn't my best work, or like that's not something I want to post or whatever.
Gotcha.
But you know, trying to like with tattooing now. I'm trying to SMP
clients that I was like, I'm not posting this shit.
Yeah.
That they were like, just go a little darker with the density fills. I was like, oh man, I'm not getting crucified for this one. Been there, done that. You guys listening and watching, don't be judging, because you know you've done that shit too.
Yeah, man.
So check this out. Let's talk about some tools. What are the tools that you're using right now for your SMP procedures?
So right now I'm using the Bishop wand, I think, and I use that for tattooing too. I use the Packer. There's a Bishop SMP machine that they came out with. They just came out with a new one, and that thing hits pretty hard. I like that one. The older SMP wand that Bishop came out with, it kind of hits really lightly, and I don't like to tattoo that way. I like to really crank the machine up. So I use the Packer wand that Bishop makes.
Okay.
And I use the Bishop needles.
Got you. And now you're sponsored, you're a sponsored artist by Bishop too. How did that come about? How did that sponsorship come about? They saw your work. Did you meet the right people?
Yeah, you know, I've been using Bishop long before the sponsorship started. I was using Bishop back when I first started tattooing. They came out with the V6. Whenever they came out with the V6 is when I grabbed it right away. Chris Garber told me to grab that. He's like, you know what? I know you've been using coils for shading and everything, but you got to have a machine that's consistent, like the most consistent machine that you can find. He's like, get a good rotary and stick with it. So I got the Bishop V6, which it's not a traditional rotary. It has like a rotary machine inside, but then it has a little slide that goes straight up and down. So it's like a hybrid type of thing.
Okay.
So I have one if you want me to grab it.
So you're talking about it's got the traditional rotary, but it's bringing it.
Yeah. Do you want me to grab it real quick?
Yeah, let's see it.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Hold on.
We have an intermission, folks. Maybe I'll sing for you guys. No, I won't sing for you guys.
So I grabbed a bunch of stuff here. I got a bunch of shit here.
Oh, we're going to get a show today, guys.
Yeah, man. So this is the V6. And you can see
dude,
here,
that's
I don't know.
throwback. That's like when I first started doing SMP. That's, I think, what was
you know who used this?
Yeah.
So Scalpa used to.
Yeah, that was his.
But this one has a machine inside. If you take it out, it's just a little machine inside. But then it has like a little thing where it kind of like transitions that rotary into like something that goes straight up and down here. This is like a slide.
Got you.
So it goes straight up and down. Then it has a little spring in there. So it kind of gives you the same feeling as a traditional tattoo machine, something like this, where it's like a coils. And then this is going straight up and down too. And it has that little springy feeling to it. So I felt comfortable using this for traditional tattooing. And then when I started doing SMP, I was using these. I was using these with disposable grips and needles on a bar. I wasn't using cartridges for the longest time.
Really?
I was using needles on a bar. The reason why, they have these machines. This is the new Bishop, by the way. This is pretty cool. It has these little clicky things. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah, I got that. I literally have it in my mailbox today.
Yeah, this thing's awesome. There are some downfalls to these type of machines. And my biggest gripe with machines like this is this piece here. So yeah, you plug the cartridge in there and they tell you, oh yeah, that cartridge has like a plasma or whatever that's going to prevent any backflow from coming up. I was never, ever comfortable with using one of these machines, trusting that that little needle that's made for what, 5 cents in China, that's going to be 100% secure from preventing any backflow from coming up in there. If you take a Q-tip after you tattoo and you go in there, you're going to see pigment in there. And along with that pigment, guess what's in there? Blood, guts, everything. And then would you take that and go, even after wiping it, would you go and tattoo your mom or like your loved one with that? I don't know, man. Like if you say no to that or maybe not, then don't do it to your clients. So anyway, let me go back to what I was talking about. So this one here, this is the Bishop. That's the little battery pack that they have too. I'll take that off. But that's the Bishop wand. And then they have disposable grips that go on there. So as soon as this came out with the disposable grips, that's when I felt comfortable to use a pen.
I got you.
So you were
using the coils the whole time.
I was using this one.
Coils.
I was using this one.
But with the bars.
This is the V6. Yeah. And you could get, I mean, you could put like disposable tubes on there and get a cartridge. You could use that. It's fine. It's just a little kind of, it's not as good as like using it with one of these. This is awesome. It has the disposable grip, and then you put the needle into the disposable grip. This part doesn't ever get any dirt in it, nothing like that. It's like, that's clean. I feel confident using that on people, knowing that I'm not going to be passing hepatitis or whatever, you know, like it's just not cool. You know, it's, and even Franco, the owner of Bishop, he went on one time and he was talking about tattooing's dirty little secret. And the dirty little secret was people using these grips, not autoclavable. They don't have an autoclave. They're just cold, you know, using cavi or whatever to clean it out. That's not good enough. Like that's not good enough.
So you got to get in there with like a couple of Q-tips and
you got to autoclave it. You have to take this off and autoclave it. That's the only way. That's the only way to kill it. You're not going to kill it by wiping it. That's not how it works. Like that. Why do you think tattoo shops, all tattoo shops that use tubes, like metal tubes, why do you think they have an autoclave? Because you have to autoclave it. it's not acceptable. I mean, it'd be much when during my apprenticeship, I would have much rather just wipe them down with cavi and put them back in the drawer. I used to have to sit back there with a toothbrush, cleaning all the pigment off, put them in a little ultrasonic first to loosen up all the pigment. Then I would put them in the autoclave, let them cook, and then I'd have to put them back in the drawers of all the tattooers. I would have like buckets of them things every day that I would have to clean. That sucked, man. I didn't want to do that.
That sounds like a pain in the ass.
So
that's what you got for tools and some needles that you use. How about for pigment? I know we spoke about pigment. You got your own line, exclusive line. Is SMP?
It's SMP pigment.
Pigment. Let's talk about.
We can get into that too if you want. But
yeah, let's do it.
So I just started working with Federico Ferroni. He's the owner of Solid Ink. So I knew him back in the day from Miami Ink. He tattoos. He's an awesome tattooer. Look him up. But he started his pigment probably, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. But it's called Solid Ink. So I just came out with a set here. And I'm working with him. So I wouldn't say it's my own line. I would call it a collaboration. Like
collaboration. Okay.
Yeah. It's his line.
It's dedicated to scalp micropigmentation.
Yeah. It's specifically made for SMP. And I'm going to be honest with you here too. There's no difference between SMP pigment and tattoo pigment. I'll tell you that right now.
Can you say that one more time, please?
There is no difference between SMP pigment and regular tattoo pigment. And if you don't believe me, just read the label. Like the label doesn't lie to you. It tells you exactly what's on there for the people who actually put the ingredients on the label. Now, if we're talking about the people who are filling bottles up and selling them, then look at the source.
Ingredients. Yeah.
Look at the source. But I mean, it's all the same. Now, that being said, there are different combinations that you can use that would work better for one application than another application. Right. So for example, when I'm tattooing somebody and I'm doing like, background that I want to look like dark and saturated, I'll use a certain type of pigment. If I want to go for a lighter look, like, something that's maybe like, that shade, I might use something different. I might just dilute it. So having the pre-diluted, pigment already set, that's what is different about this pigment than just getting dynamic or, talons or whatever black pigment you want to use. It's the mixture, and Tim Hendricks, he's one of my favorite tattooers. He does black and gray work. He has his own line with Solid Ink. He didn't reinvent black pigment. Like they haven't reinvented it. They've made the set that he uses. So I remember watching Tim Hendricks, and I can't give too much info because he'll kill me, but I remember watching him dilute his pigment and like how many drops you put in this cap filled with water and how many drops you put in that cap. He has, and I remember it from like one time I watched him and I remember he's like, what are you looking at? But,
stop trying to take my secret.
Yeah, man. He'll like hide it, they like pouring it like this. He won't let his client look, he's pretty funny. But he has his own kind of like mixture that he uses all the time. So he worked with Solid Ink and they bottled up his dilution so it's already set and ready to go. So you don't have to think about it. You don't got to mix it. You don't got to do all that stuff. And that's what I've done with this pretty much. It's like you got your black and then you got your dark, your medium, your light, and then your ultra light. And it's all the same stuff. It's not like I've reinvented anything. It's just a combination.
And it's pre-diluted for you. So
pre-diluted.
So now explain to us, all right, you now have a client in front of you. Mm-hmm. And how do you go about so you just look at the skin tone and you already tell yourself, okay, I know this is what I'm going to need. I'm going to need whatever the light black, and that's how you go about it. And if that's not dark enough, you just move over to the next bottle and create.
Yeah. I eyeball it, like there's no like scientific method that I have. I'll look at it and I'll be like, all right, you have Fitzpatrick 4 skin and your hair is dark as hell. I'm using the dark pigment. I'm not going to go solid black on anybody, unless you're like super dark, but I'll just eyeball it. And then a lot of times I might go a little too light and then they come back and I'll just up it a little bit. I should be writing stuff down like, oh, I use this on this guy, but I don't. Of
I'm
course, I want to.
guilty of that too. I'll just keep
I
going.
gotta make it. You gotta make it a little bit
Make it
difficult
difficult.
for myself. So I'll guess. What did I use on this dude? But after you tattoo for so long, you kind of like how stuff is gonna heal. Like it'll look black when you put it in the skin. It's gonna look dark as hell, but it's gonna lighten up to a certain point. If you're using like, whatever combination is gonna heal that way, you just have to have confidence that it's gonna heal lighter.
Right. And you spoke earlier, behind the scenes before we jumped on, that you wanted to talk about the packaging in the ink, that it's specifically packaged the way it is for a reason. What is that?
Well, if you look at a bottle, of pigment here, there's a twisty top. There's really, when you shake it up, you should have like a paper towel over top, shake it up, open it with your paper towel, pour it. This should never come in contact with anything when you're pouring it. And then you close it up and you put it wherever you're going to do. They have these bottles. I don't know if I could show this or not, but I covered the label so nobody gets upset. But or maybe you can see through there. They have these glass.
You hold it like that.
You might have to bleep it out, dude.
Yeah, hold it like that.
I ain't getting sued, man. They have these like glass bottles with these little eyedroppers, and it's like, if you think about it, common sense should tell you you're opening up something that is sterile inside there. This should be sterile stuff. Now you're taking this out, and you have this glass dropper. Now you've exposed everything that's going back into the bottle. You're exposing it to the elements, and then you're putting it back in. Who knows what you do if you touch it on a cup, or you touch it on whatever, you sneeze on it, your dude breathes on it, whatever. Now you just opened up something that should be sterile, and then you close it back up. To me, my opinion, there's no reason to recreate something that's been working forever.
And that's packaging like that. So in the tattoo world, and again, I say traditional, but we know
tattoo world.
In the tattoo world, are there no companies or brands that sell the no?
Okay. Nothing. There's not any single manufacturer making pigment in a glass bottle. This is the first time I saw this, was like when I looked at scalp. I'm like, that just set me off. Like, what the hell are they using, man? Like, is that some special serum that they're using for the scalp? And then it took me a while to figure it out. I'm like, I think I might even bought some, and I'm like, I put it on a piece. I'm like, this is the same shit, man. Like, this is Talons or whatever it is that they were filling up with. But like, this is a cool idea. If like,
yeah, no, it's definitely marketable. I mean, I don't know any difference. I've seen all of them. Like the one, even what I use now. Well, actually, no, because what I use Pigmenta.
Yeah.
I use, you use an individual syringe.
Yeah.
Pigment in, and then that's it.
I'm sorry, and I'm not going to bash you, but I don't think that that's the way that it should be done. Now, talking about like subjective artwork, I said what I had to say about that. Like, there's not right or wrong. Right. But when it comes to safety and when it comes to sterilization and all that stuff, I think there's only one way to do it properly.
Okay.
Having a syringe, having a shot glass mixed with like water, like all that stuff, to me is, how can I say this without being mean? I just don't think it's cool.
Speaking
it's ridiculous, man. Like, this has been around forever. It works properly. It's not broken. It's pigment inside a plastic bottle with a nice top on it. You don't have to reinvent this to separate yourself from the rest of the world. I know these guys selling pigment are making tons of money. I'm sorry, but now the cat's out of the bag. This pigment in this bottle is not going to be selling for $200. I'll tell you that right now. Like, it's not anything different than if you go to the solidink.com and you look at all that other pigment. It's priced for tattooers to buy. Like, it's not like crazy.
So what would be the retail price on that whole package that you have right there?
This package right here, I think it's like $240 or something. These are 2-ounce bottles.
So it's
probably going to be cheaper than that. It hasn't released yet, but we're going to do 1-ounce bottles. Okay. And it's probably going to be $20 a bottle. So, it ain't gonna be it ain't gonna be like we're robbing people, because we're making that for tattooers. We're making that for people who, just like that, the online course that I made. Did we talk about that yet? No.
Oh, we're gonna get to the
Okay, sorry, I thought we were already talking about it. You know, I'm making this pigment so people who, you know, you're not going to get robbed. Like buying this bottle, I'm sorry guys, buying this for like $80 or whatever that costs, that's robbery. And that's just I mean, it's been a good run and all. I'm sure you guys made a bunch of money, but that ain't how it goes, man. Like this pigment here, this thing I think cost me $20 or something like that, like normal pigment.
Gotcha.
And there's no difference between this and this. There's no difference. You can put big SMP logo on it if you want.
I guess what it all boils down to is just branding. I mean, because you have a pair of Kanye West sneakers. Those exact same sneakers, without it being Yeezys, probably cost $20. But since he's got his name on it, it's $750.
Is it branding, or is it being dishonest? Like you're saying, if you're saying that this is different than this because this is
okay.
So it's a little bit of I can't think of the English word right now, and that's the only language I really speak.
From that perspective, I get
no, not bad person, but you're not presenting it accurately. You know, you're kind of and I'll think of it.
Well, I don't know how. I'll tell you right now, I'm not familiar with how a lot of these guys sell their ink. I don't know if it's like, oh, mine has this that this one doesn't. I know the pigmenta ink that I'm using from Tony. He sent it to me. He was like, try it out. Tell me what you think. I thought it worked great for me, and now that's what I use. I did not. There was no sales pitch behind it. Like he wasn't like, oh, it's gonna do this better than any ink. It's not gonna do this. It's not gonna. He was like, hey, just try it out. If you like it, let's get it. And I was like, oh shit, I like the retention I was experienced.
Let me ask you this. What was stopping you from going and getting a bottle of Silverback gray wash? Why?
But that's what I was using in the beginning was
Silverback, right?
The gray wash and dynamic, and it's great. Silverback gray wash. And I looked at it. I looked at it, but then again, at the time, I wasn't as how can I say, financially astute as I am now. So it was kind of like, I'll pay $75 for that bottle.
Yeah.
And at the same time, supporting a friend. You know,
that's a different story. Like
I'm looking at it from that perspective as well too. But had he not approached me and just said, hey, try this out, let me know what you think, and it didn't work, I would have I'll stick to my, you know, my Silverback, my gray watch, because it's worked. Even though throughout the industry, they've known to take a lot of really good proven pigment and say, oh, if you're using that, that means you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Who said that though? Who says that? Tell me who says that. Bring them on here right now and tell me what the difference is. I want to know, if you're going to say that, support it with something. What's the difference? Tell me what it is.
Gotcha.
Is it the ingredients? Where on this list of ingredients that's on this bottle? What's different?
So again, I'm not a pigment guy. I know there's some guys that are really good in when it comes to articulating what's the difference, but the only thing that I hear is when it comes to the level of metals that are in, like, that's what can change.
Metals like awards?
Like
what the fuck are you talking about, man? I never won an award either.
Oh shit, Billy, you a wild boy, man. Check, yeah. No, like, dude, I don't know the science. This is why I don't get too crazy with it. I know my lane, but from you know, I listen. Oh, you know, you can buy this pigment over this one because this one has a lesser amount of metals and ions in it, and you know, this will do this with the scalp, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it sounds good, and it's like good marketing, right? And when you hear someone saying it with confidence, you go, "Oh shit! All right,
I must know something."
So now you're telling me that because I said metals, and you gave me that face like Dave.
I thought that's what you were talking about for a second. I'm like, are you trying to tell me that some dude who won an award knows? anyways, what I was gonna say, why don't you get Federico on here? That dude's like an expert on pigment. I'm like nobody. This dude knows everything about pigment. You should get him on here. He won't pump his own product that much, but he'll talk
No,
about
that's
how.
fine. I tell you what, why don't you help me facilitate that, bro?
Yeah, I'll send him a message.
I
That
would
dude's
love
awesome.
to get him on. And it's not,
Yeah,
I'm not coming from a malicious
no.
perspective. Listen, I'm all for it. Guys are putting out pigment out there, whatever you want to sell it, do your thing, make your money. I'm all for capitalism. Get it. But I don't think a lot of us really have that understanding that we should when it
Yes.
comes to pigment. Like, look
Yeah.
at me. I've been doing this shit for 4.5 years, and I'm talking to you. And you're looking at me like I got 3 heads.
No, I didn't mean it like that, but I'm just
What
like,
the hell? Like, what are you talking about? Like, but like, I feel like as artists, we should know the recipe that we're using. We should know the ingredients
yeah.
that.
Well, I think it's time to be honest too. Like I do believe that there was a stage in SMP where like there's a lot of money to be made, like with equipment, with needles, with
Yeah.
machine. Like when they used to, I remember with the machine, I saw this machine, I saw Scalpel using it, but they had like the Scalpel logo. And I sent an email, I'm like, hey, is that the Bishop? And they're like, no, that's the machine's way different. It's way stronger to puncture the skin of the scalp. I'm like, what the fuck kind of answer is that? Like the scalp is more difficult to puncture than somebody's ass cheek. So now so you're using a specialized piece of equipment to puncture. And then right there and right then and there, I knew like this is a whole like smoke and mirrors thing so they can sell their products. So machines, pigment, needles, all these things, it's all tattooing, man, no matter if like somebody wants to agree or not. But it's time now to be truthful and let's be honest.
No, I agree. And I understand, like when we spoke, you were like, Dave, people don't like me. I pissed them off because I speak the truth. And I didn't bring you on here so that we could like try and like blow people up. But I just think it's important to see the other side, the different perspective of, of the industry and what it what it really is. So you got the pigments. You don't know when they're going to be coming out yet, right?
Should be soon. It was supposed to be like 2 weeks ago.
I'll tell you what,
Black Friday hit.
I'm going to tell you a secret. The first time you posted the picture of it, it was either you or David Hoffer.
Yeah.
And dude, I am not the guy that falls for marketing. I am not him. Like, I don't just see shit and go, oh, I'm going to get it. I looked at everything of it, the size, and I was like, I like that. Let me go see if they have it.
Send you a set.
I was like, where the fuck can I buy these things? I'm not going to hit them up and be like, because I didn't think I didn't know you were going to put it out there like that. So I wanted to be like, yo, send me, like, I want to try this, bro. Like,
yeah, man, they're ready. It's already ready to go. They're in Miami. It's made in Miami. They're ready to go. It's just, I think it's the release time has been a little, maybe, I don't know when this thing's going to air, but maybe when this is released, they're already going to be on the website. But
yeah, this will probably come on you'll probably be like the first or second week of January.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Pretty soon.
New Year. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
All right. So check this out, Billy. What's one piece of advice that you'd give someone? Actually, you know what? Let's not go with the advice. I still have some questions for you.
Okay. Right? Hit me.
And it's not to continue to make people uncomfortable, but there are artists that are successful and proficient like yourself who have not undergone traditional SMP training. And you were very freaking transparent to me about that. Talk to me about your come up, your training. How'd you get your skills in SMP?
Did we not already just talk about this? Or we did?
Oh, we did that. We did that before.
We shouldn't have talked about that because now it's not going to be. Now it's not going to be natural, man. Okay, so I started tattooing, and after I was on the New York Ink show. I don't know if you know that or not, but I was on that TV show, after that thing went down, I moved to Vancouver and I hopped around a little bit to some shops. And then I ended up opening my own studio, like a private studio. And, here in Vancouver, there's a huge Asian population. So there's lots of permanent makeup, lots of cosmetic tattooing going on. So I thought, in addition to what I'm doing like traditional Japanese stuff mostly. In addition to that, why not get somebody coming in here and doing some brows or whatever that can make some extra money? So saw this girl, she came in, she's a real popular brow artist. She came in and we chatted about it and it didn't work out. Like she ended up getting her own studio. She did the math and she's like, I'm just going to get my own place. I'm not paying you 30% for whatever. But she's like, why don't you do SMP? I'm like,
No, and I'm sorry to cut you off. No, that we did. This is like your come up, but I'm talking about as far as learning. You didn't do like a 3-day training. You learned. You said to me, and I'll lead, and I'll let you said, Dave,
yeah.
I learned by fucking dude up.
Yeah, man. If any of those people are watching this,
I mean.
I do have a laser now, so I'll remove it for free and I'll do it again for free. But I fucked a lot of people's heads up, man. Like I went in there. So what did I start using? Like I didn't know exactly what pigment to use. I didn't know how it was going to heal. I didn't have like some techniques that I kind of changed over the years. I didn't really have like a technique. I just thought, well, I'm gonna go in there and blast this dude's head out. Like I'm gonna fucking jam it in there. And then I botched a bunch of people's heads. And then I just learned the hard way, kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna do that again.
But at the time there was a such thing as a 3 days fundamentals training, right?
There was training all over the place.
Why did you not want to do that? What about that training did you feel like I don't need it? Was it just because you know what, I'm a dope tattoo artist? I don't
think I have. I know that I have a lot to learn. I'm not the type of person that thinks I know it all. But when I'm going to learn something, whether it's how to swing a baseball bat or jujitsu or whatever, I'm going to make sure that that person who's teaching me knows more than I do. Like, I'm not going to go to a white belt and try to like get my next belt. Like, you can't do that. So I looked at people around here training. I'm like, no, you don't know.
It was an easy determination that they weren't proficient because you said you were looking at basic mechanics.
Mechanics tells
right?
me
So
everything.
it's like, if you don't have the basic mechanics, how could you possibly teach me this technique?
Yeah. So mechanics, for example, like when you're tattooing and you're right-handed, you should have your tray on the right-hand side. Just that's proper mechanics. You shouldn't be reaching across. And like I saw some trainer doing that, like they're tattooing somebody's head, reaching across, and on their tray they had their sunglasses and their fucking phone on there. I'm like, I'm not going to, like, you're not teaching me anything. Like, I'm not even gonna go in your studio. Like, and that's I found that there was a lot of inexperienced people training, and that's great. They made a bunch of money doing it, but there wasn't anybody who had the proper skill set to be in a position to train. That's my opinion.
Got you.
You know?
So you just did a lot of trial and error.
I botched some people's heads up, and those are my training pupils.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. You know, so I did the same thing, man.
Yeah.
I was YouTubing it up, and it wasn't until like after my 8th or 9th friend that I was like, man, I'm still not getting. I didn't botch them. Here's the deal though. I did not botch them because I was so scared. I was just doing light. So, it's taking me like about 4 or 5, even 6 sessions. But
that's sorry to cut you off, but that's also if you're timid and you're tattooing and you're doing SMP and you don't have the confidence to use darker pigment or go to the proper depth, then you're going to create a helmet because you're just going to saturate the shit out of it with a light pigment, so that's also.
Yeah, well, I didn't botch any, but it was like, I'm gonna say maybe my 8th or 9th with my friend. Well, first of all, I was running out of friends that were raising their hands like, Dave, do this on me. So I was like, you know what? Maybe it's about that time I make that investment. And then, I went and I got it with Picasso. But yeah, I did the same too. Yeah, I went with Picasso about 4.5 years ago. I was like, yeah, I could do this. I'm looking at YouTube. I'm like, this is really not that difficult. I'm artistically inclined. So I was like, I'll get it done. But I thought it was interesting just to talk about, your come up when it came to training. You know, you didn't
Yeah.
you skipped all that. You went you went the hard route with
Sorry, man.
with
Oh,
you have the, you know, right reasoning,
yeah.
right reasoning. I'm
Um,
not promoting that though. I'm not promoting.
no,
We shouldn't do it like
yeah.
that. Some guys definitely seek out someone who has proficient training with a good track record and just get with them. Don't be a YouTube garage
Yeah.
SMP artist.
Well, even like I've trained people, and then 2 months later, they're training people now, and they're the best in Vancouver. And like this one clown's like the most busy artist. It's like, are you kidding me, man? Like, I know there's money being made. That's cool if you want to try to make some money, but come on, like have a little bit of like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
be a little bit more
I've
authentic.
experienced. I've seen. I've got guys who ask me very basic fundamental questions, yet they're hosting
Mhm.
SMP training, and I'm like, how?
Yeah, it's not right. That's wrong. But it's like deception. That was the word I was looking for earlier.
Yeah,
Deception.
with the pink. Good, good one.
Finally just came to me. But I've actually, when in doubt, I always kind of fall back onto my tattoo background to figure out like, okay, why did this happen? Why is this so saturated here? Like, what happened in that process that made that? Like, why did that skin in that spot heal that way, and this spot did? And it all goes back to the foundation. So I already knew what I needed to know. I just didn't know that I knew it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah.
check this out, Billy. What's one piece of advice that you would give someone who's starting out as an SMP artist?
Ooh, one piece of advice. I could go on for days and days. One piece of advice. Um, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I didn't know you're gonna spring that question on me. Um, I guess if you're starting out and you're looking to tattoo people's heads and you're gonna try to change their lives for the better, I would say make sure that you're ready before you start going out there and just getting all aggressive with it. Um, take your time, uh, do it properly. Like get, and I can't say get proper training because like I know how trainings go. It's like 3 days of training and you're off to the races. Are you talking about people who like just took a training course and
Yes,
they're
just some, yeah, someone. Let's say someone who's already received their fundamentals training.
yeah, I would say just don't be too aggressive with it. Like take it slow, pick and choose some jobs that you feel like you can really knock out of the park. And if you ever have any doubt about, do I think I can accomplish this or can I achieve the results that this person wants? If you feel like any doubt in that at all, then I would say probably don't do it. Um, pick some ones that you can really do a great job on because it is somebody's head. I know I'm joking around about botching people's heads and everything, but you're not me. I can do that if I want. Um, but just take it slow because at the end of the day, it's it's your confidence that you're trying to build up. Like it's nice when you do a good job on something that was a little bit easy, and then you kind of start building up the difficulty level a little bit. If you just start out trying to do like alopecia jobs or something like that, like it's not easy, and you're just setting yourself up for disaster. And if I would have taken the same exact advice when I started tattooing, I would have saved myself a lot of trauma, like mental trauma. I used to challenge myself all the time. And I remember like, I don't know if you know Ami James, he's the guy who taught me how to tattoo. He's a very abrasive individual. I love him to death, but that dude made my life hell. And I didn't make it any easier for myself because I would have a tattoo, like it was a walk-in shop, and somebody would come in and be like, "Hey, I want this script on my neck or something like that." And I'd be like, "All right." I wasn't ready to do it, but I was ambitious.
Got you.
So I didn't have that skill to or that ability to say no.
They
I
know.
was constantly trying to challenge myself, and it hurt. Like it hurt me. It can hurt your career. It can hurt your like emotions. Like you look at a picture and you did one, you fucked up, man, that hurts. So say my advice would be
Amazing.
save yourself that pain and take it nice and slow and take jobs that you feel like you can accomplish.
Awesome. Outstanding. Great
Yeah,
advice.
man.
And now, do you offer training, Billy?
I do. I kind of created like a little hybrid situation going on now. So after training people for, I don't know, I've been doing it like 6 years or so, training 5, 6 years. I was taking a lot of newbies coming in and trying to bust them out in 3 days. I still do one-on-one training, but I'm trying to focus more on training for tattooers, people who are in my situation, who are trying to get into the SMP game, who are already tattooing. So
Okay.
I had people who taught me how to tattoo, like guys in Miami, like, hey man, like what needle are you using? What pigment? All all this kind of stuff. So I thought, I'm gonna just put a little video together and I'm gonna send it to some of my friends and just kind of put them on to SMP because why not? They put me on to tattooing, so give back a little bit. And then I figured, there's a real demand for this. So I shot this like online course. I have like all types of models and male pattern baldness, female thinning, scars, like all types of stuff. And then I put it online. So it's there for online. And that's geared for like people who are already doing SMP who kind of don't get it, or people who are permanent makeup artists who know how to use the machine, but they just don't know the concept, or tattooers, people who know how to tattoo. They have the whole setup. They just want to kind of offer this ancillary service that's going to, help them put some money in their pocket and also help people feel better about themselves.
Gotcha.
So,
So now it wouldn't necessarily be, let's say I'm a hunt, I have no SMP experience at all, no training.
mhm.
Would your online training, I wouldn't be a candidate for that.
I think so. This is I when I first made it, I was like, oh, it's for experienced people. But then after I watched it a couple of times, I'm like, this would be really beneficial for somebody who's thinking about doing some training. Like if you had no training whatsoever and you're like, I want to know what's up with SMP. Well, this would be a good way to get started.
Got you.
Look at the whole course. I talk a lot, probably a lot of it's going to go right over your head, but there's a lot that you'll be able to kind of get exposed to. So I do offer like in-person training, but anybody who's coming in-person training, I always ask them to watch this course first. I think it's like 30 hours and it's some of it's kind of boring, I guess, because I'm doing dots on people's heads, but you'll learn the mechanics. I talk a lot about mechanics and the basics of like, just taking care of your equipment, cleaning off your needle, what pigment to use, how to like treat people with aftercare and positioning the client. Um, Little things like putting a drape sheet over the bed. Like I see people tattooing heads with no protection of their equipment. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
what? Let's not go down
Sometimes
that path.
even without gloves, I've been seeing
Oh
without
man,
gloves.
everything.
I'm like, how the hell, man?
Well, yeah. So this course, I originally made it for just the experienced, but I've been encouraging people who are going to take training in the future, whether it's from me or somebody else. I think it's very beneficial to have that. And then after you do your training, you can always kind of refer back to it.
Got you. And what that goes for, that training?
Right now, it's at 997 USD, but I was thinking about making it a little more expensive. I don't know what I should do, man. I put a lot of time. It took me like 6 months to make that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know that's a difficult
It was tough.
task.
And I did it all myself too. So I had three cameras. I had like one overhead, one behind, and one wide. I was getting up, like turning them on. I took my gloves off though. I turned them on. I recorded everything. I had the audio. I edited everything. It took me months and months and months, man.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. It's not like the most like awesome production. I'm sure if I would have hired somebody, they could have probably made it a lot better. But the content is there. Like the meat is there. Just the all the fancy shit isn't. Sorry about that.
Not the that's all right.
Yeah,
Listen,
man.
it's the content that matters. You know what?
Yeah.
Some people like that, they would have expected you to drop a little, some sparkling dust maybe on yourself as
I
you
don't know,
walking.
man. I try to keep it simple, man.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you,
Keep it
brother.
simple.
So Billy, before we wrap things up, brother,
Mhm.
let the listeners and the viewers know where they could get in contact with you and where they can find you.
Okay, so I'm in Vancouver. My studio is called Studio Kiku. The online training course is learnsmp.com. That's where you can find the online training at learnsmp.com. My studio, the one I do like laser removal, I do SMP and tattooing and all that stuff, is at Studio Kiku. And you could just look that up anywhere, studiokiku.com. And then of course I have like my personal website. I don't even know if that thing's up now or whatever, but it's just my name, Billy DeCola. And you could also find me on Instagram, Billy DeCola. I try to like not get too into the social media stuff, but you got to do it for business.
You
So,
gotta do it, brother.
no, but it's tiring, man.
Oh, trust me, I know.
My real life is so much more interesting than that online crap.
Dude, I got 3 accounts that I'm managing myself. Well, now 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. We got to do it to survive.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like when COVID all kicks down and whatever, like I usually go to some tattoo conventions. I don't really go to SMP conventions. I haven't been to any. I'm not saying I wouldn't go, but I haven't really been to any of those. But there's a few like tattoo conventions that I like to go to. I always do the Toronto show. I do the Calgary show. There's some down like the Golden State one's cool. Like there's a bunch of different ones that I'd like to get back out there and do. But for right now.
Is there a reason like for the is it just because you haven't made it out there, or is it because you don't see value in it?
I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't really see value in like, I don't see much value in going to a convention that's just based on this very narrow type of tattooing. Okay. I feel like SMP is so narrow. I like to go to tattoo conventions where I can hang out with all my friends, tattoo some people, go party and like hang out. Like, you guys party at these conventions?
We party, we hang out. I actually had a blast. I'm telling you, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. So I was invited to the Golden State tattoo and the New York Empire State one. Mm-hmm. After parties, the regular meetups, I had just as much fun. I understand it's very niche. It's very new.
Yeah. Okay.
But to put a face to, the characters behind I enjoyed myself. I like it. You know what I mean?
Cool.
I think it wasn't it's not a sales driven.
Okay. Maybe I just have the wrong picture painted in my head. Like
the wrong perception of it. Yeah. It's not like you show up, hey, buy this needle. There were vendors there and they're giving away their stuff, but it's not like, hey, buy this. It's very much more so networking and then just relaying information, because some of us, we've been doing this for some time and we don't know. You know what, maybe they can have you one day talking about pigment and the real difference, like that's the kind
if people want to hear it, I feel like I'll probably get a bunch more haters now after this thing airs, but whatever, like you can hate me all you want. I don't give a fuck.
Don't hate me, guys. Listen,
you can hate this dude. Just don't hate.
I gave him.
Don't hate this dude.
To talk. No, we shouldn't hate anybody. Listen, we are entitled to have our own opinions. That's the beauty of all this. It doesn't necessarily mean we're disagreeing and saying what other people are doing, because listen, it's art. That's what we do. Art is subjective. We're allowed to have, our own opinions.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's all fun, and we're all making,
and this is why to piggyback on these conventions are great for that, because someone's gonna listen to this podcast today, and they're gonna mother F you. They're probably gonna mother F me, but then they'll meet me.
Yeah,
maybe in Mexico, maybe in Vegas, and they're gonna go, "Oh shit, he's actually a pretty cool dude. Bought me a beer. He's funny. Yeah. We actually have a whole lot in common. We don't agree on a lot of SMP shit."
But come on,
we have a lot in common. Like that's just how it works. That's how it goes.
I don't take anything, like everything that we talked about, I don't take it personally. I just think, it's a trade. It's like if we're talking about baseball, like I played baseball my whole life. I played football. Like if we're going to talk about sports and I'm telling you, hey, like you're holding your hands wrong, or you're stepping too much. It's like, I don't take that personally. I just think,
constructive criticism.
We're talking about mechanics. So it's kind of the same thing. Like I have pretty thick skin. Like I'm not gonna get my feelings hurt. If somebody has some feedback and wants to tell me I'm wrong about something, awesome. Like good for you. I'll listen to you. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll say I'm wrong.
Got you. Awesome. Billy, my brother, I appreciate you taking out some time and jumping on the podcast and chopping it up with me, brother.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been fun. You know what? I've known you like online for so long, but I never actually had the chance to
Yeah, we
talk
never
with you.
chopped it up, man.
And you're not nearly as bad as I thought you were, man.
Neither are you, man. Everything I heard about you is nearly is nowhere near as.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, man. Hey, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the Scalp Solutions podcast. Until the next time, peace.